Mike Adams.
Richard Pan is a calculated, malicious liar.
The Health Ranger Report.
He's the kind of liar who wants to keep the people of California ignorant as he's poisoning their children.
It's time for the Health Ranger Report. The Health Ranger Report. And now from naturalnews.com, here's Mike Adams.
All right, it's over for America. America is collapsing into a pharma state. And by pharma, I mean pharmaceutical. Just like Colombia is a narco state, or was a narco state for a long period of time, and to some degree still is, America has descended into a pharma state. And it's now obvious to me, especially given the healthcare reform debates and what's going on in Washington, that the pharmaceutical industry has infested so deeply. It's injected itself so deeply into the infrastructure of the legislature, of academia, of science, of every system of control in America that it cannot be extricated. We cannot excise this cancer from America, and it's going to destroy the country economically, but also from a health perspective as well. We are a pharma state, and as a pharma state, every power structure in the country worships big pharma, worships the profits of it, worships the false science of pharma. And now even with this healthcare reform, you've got Paul Ryan, who is a big pharma whore. And this bill that they're pushing, this Obamacare reform bill, does nothing to get pharma's monopoly under control and actually focus on health and real prevention for the American people. It's just another massive corporate welfare program to give trillions of dollars to the pharmaceutical cartels, the drug cartels of America, over the next few decades as the system completely collapses. I'm now convinced. I held out hope for a while that maybe this was a last-ditch effort. Maybe there was a small little window of opportunity with Trump being elected president and Trump saying, yeah, he's going to bring down prescription drug prices. Maybe a small window of opportunity to finally topple the pharmaceutical cartel. But it's now obvious to me that as much as Donald Trump wants to drain the swamp, he's actually being swamped by the swamp. The swamp is draining Trump, draining him of his political capital and draining him of energy and focus. I mean, one man can't save this country, even if he wants to. And as much as we would hope that one person might be able to come in and make a huge difference, and to some degree, Trump has already made a lot of positive difference in many areas, but pharmaceutical cartels still rule. They rule the country. They rule the government. They run the FDA. They run the CDC. The chemical companies run the USDA and the EPA. They are one and the same. The FDA is just an extension of big pharma. The CDC is an extension of the vaccine industry. You can't approach this thing with little piecemeal reforms where you try to tweak it around the edges and talk about, we're going to give tax credits to older people to reduce their cost burden for the huge cost of paying for everybody's disease. Look, every healthcare system that's being talked about, and even the system that's been in place under Obama, is primarily a corporate welfare program to hand over trillions of dollars to the pharmaceutical industry. That's what it's all about. The drug companies are there to keep making money by drugging people to death, ultimately, but not too soon, not too quickly, because, dead people can't be drugged anymore. You got to keep people alive to keep extracting revenue from Medicare and Medicaid and the insurance companies and people's private savings. If you're big pharma, you got to keep people sort of alive but addicted to your product, where they need another drug, and then there's another symptom, so they need another drug to treat that symptom, and then there's a side effect, and then they need a third drug to treat the side effect of the second drug that treated the symptom of the first drug. And it's this never-ending cascade of complete medical lunacy, by the way, just total quackery from pharma that just happens to generate literally trillions of dollars in profits. Trillions of dollars in profits over, let's say, a 10-year period. Trillions of dollars. And because of that, they hire more lobbyists than any other industry, and they have turned almost every lawmaker in Washington, D.C. into a total pharma whore prostitute. And that includes, by the way, even the Freedom Caucus, even the Republicans that claim to be free market. You know, a lot of these Republicans that claim to be free market, all they are is pharmaceutical whores who think that free market means no regulation on pesticides, no regulation on drug companies, no regulation on banks. And thus they create the conditions under which these corporate monsters literally they live as parasites on the U.S. economy, and they destroy the system. They destroy human health, and they destroy your savings, and they destroy economic opportunities, and they poison the environment, and they poison the food supply, and they cause cancer, and cause diabetes, and cause Alzheimer's disease. And these corporations that are being protected by these healthcare reforms these are the corporations that are destroying life and prosperity and abundance in America. And they're protected by the Freedom Caucus under the disguise of capitalism. Well, is it really capitalism if your corporate model is to just poison people, make money off of poisoning people with medications or poisoning the food supply with herbicides like glyphosate? Is that really capitalism? Or is that just freaking suicide? Just sort of large-scale suicide by fascism, or maybe you call it democide because it's death by government. That's all it is. It's not really free market. So we're through, folks. I'm convinced at this point that there's no coming back from this. The tipping point is long since gone. It's going to collapse. And in a very long-term sense, that's actually good news. The sooner this failed, corrupt, broken system collapses, the sooner we can get down to creating the next society that is rooted in sanity rather than the total corruption and insanity and criminality and mass poisoning that we now see that dominates every decision in Washington today. It's really, really sick. It's very destructive. And it's going to, of course, collapse. So frankly, at this point, the sooner the better. We may not have very long to wait, come to think of it. The financial collapse is coming. Environmental collapse is accelerating. Cultural collapse is also accelerating. Plus, we've got risks of international war and EMP nukes and terrorism, maybe nuclear terrorism. Sadly, lots of threats now in our future that could lead to real systemic, large-scale collapse. I'm on the record saying that I believe Donald Trump is the last president of these United States as we know them today. And I'm sticking with that prediction. I think he may win a second term. So what I'm really saying is that within the next 8 years, it's probably over for America as we know it today. So keep that in mind and prepare accordingly. Read survival.news, read collapse.news. Both of those are some of my many websites. And also, of course, naturalnews.com. Thanks for listening.
Learn more at healthrangerreport.com.
Support our films for humanity. Visit healthrangerstore.com. The cleanest lab-verified health products in the world.